Do you know how to change the background? Do you like me to send you the background one in the chat so that you can
What
change
do you
it?
mean for me?
Yeah,
I often use the natural background, but if you have another one,
I do have the background for you, which have your name as well. Uh,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
All right. Okay. Now let me send on the chat for you. Then I see your computer. Uh, right
Virtual background, yeah.
here. Yeah.
How would you
All
send the
right. Have you
background?
seen it? Right. For everyone in the room, I can give you the background as well for everyone else. Lộc and Thắng, I have the background with your
Tell me,
name.
I know how to open the choose virtual background, but how do I get the one you prepared?
Oh, I put in the chat for you. Are you able to download from the chat?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. All right. Now Lộc and uh, okay.
Let's see if I can manage to put, but then how to, sorry, I often do not work with her. How do I put it in the,
So you select the version.
I can say don't download or open file.
Yeah. Okay.
Background. Okay, let me
All
see.
right. Okay. Give me a
Works.
second. Uh,
No, it's not working yet. Sorry, the background.
yeah.
Hello, Ms. Duke.
Yes. Hi, Brendan.
How are
You
you?
here?
Yeah, I entered
Oh.
successfully.
All right. Yeah, I will introduce you later, right?
Okay,
Yeah. So,
wonderful.
Professor Christoph, this
Yes.
is teacher Brendan from KBERI. So,
Hi.
Brendan is a professional, editor, proofreader. So
Uh,
during the book process at KBERI,
uh,
Brendan would help significantly to make the three books happening.
yes.
Okay. Then let us talk separately next week on that
Okay,
project.
all
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm
All
still
right.
not sorry.
mm,
The background you sent me.
mm.
Yeah. You can't download? You want me to send you email?
No,
Oh,
I
it's
downloaded,
fine if
but
you don't want
then
to.
how
Yeah.
to I downloaded, but then how to add it to the as a background because I hope
It's when you
background did
on
not
the
work.
screen when you select choose a virtual background. Yeah. But it's okay if you don't need to.
Mm.
Would you love to do it?
What is it?
The background zoom.
Background in Zoom. I love my universal background. If I take it down, you'll see.
I did one very nice for Brendan with his
I
name, but he
know, I know, and I still intend to use it, but in some respects, I'm a terrible procrastinator.
yeah.
But I promise prompt service as an editor. Okay.
I have my special one, but I should change to my book one, yeah?
Yeah.
Now let I give everyone the one so everyone would be able to change to. Give me one
Yes,
sec.
I downloaded and I
Yeah.
know how to add a background, an artificial background, a virtual background, but I can't find it on
Thắng,
my
would you be
computer.
able to help
I
the
chose
virtual
virtual
background.
but then I
Oh,
have
I'm
to.
sorry. Yeah. So if you go to, is it the video? Yeah. If you
No,
hit where
it's
it says,
just no. I want to install the virtual background that she sent. I downloaded it. I have it on my
oh yeah.
desktop, but the virtual background, if I choose virtual background, I don't find it on my computer.
Yeah. Okay.
But we should not lose time for that. We just
Sure.
work with the background we have.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yep.
Just
Right.
tell me
So,
how to find it on my, because I have it on the desktop, but I cannot link it with a virtual background function.
all right.
Hello, here.
Yep. Dr. Andres, you are co-host now, so you should be able to share the screen. Just for security, I have turned it off from the participant. Right. Normally it's fine now. Okay. Right. Yeah, I think we will start in 1 minute's time. I just give everyone opportunity so that they could for some who have some technical issues, they are unable to log on Zoom, give them some extra few minutes time, and then we could start very soon.
So you said the PPT, the latest version is.
It's enter. She will share the screen, I think.
Okay, you share
Yeah,
Anto. Okay.
if you need me, then
Okay.
okay. So this is a screen for everyone if you would love to change your background. If not, then don't worry. Okay. All right. So I got mine. Right. So good evening, everyone from Vietnam and Australia, and good afternoon, Professor Christoph and Dr. Andreas from Geneva, Switzerland, right? It is my pleasure to open the special webinar tonight with topic how to publish a research book or book chapter, right? So I would like to introduce, I would like to let Dr. Andres will start so that, we don't waste any time. Sincerely appreciate your presence, Professor Christoph and Dr. Andres. Hello. Are you
Yeah,
able
Anto, you will start.
Yeah, I would like to. Okay, so I would like to ask Dr. Anta how she would like to start. So Chris, is it you will start first, or what is the arrangement between you and
Okay,
Anta?
otherwise I thought she introduces, but it's okay, no problem. Yeah, welcome everybody. It's a great honor and pleasure to meet you online. And Dick, thank you so much for organizing that, and also all the others. I am here in Geneva, and I'm cooperating with Anto on Vietnam ethics in different aspects. And I have been introduced to KBERI recently. So I'm really keen to know more about it and also know you. So you are a big crowd of people on this. Now the topic today is, before I come to slides, a few slides, is the publishing issue. And I would like to start before we go into technology or techniques of publishing, really to remind what is behind that whole question. And I share the screen from my side, and then Anto can do it later on her side. Let me see if you see it. Uh, can you see the slides? Not yet.
Yes, I see your screen one. Yes.
Just sorry, a moment. There is a confusion on my. Do you see the screen now? It's not on my laptop.
I only see your desktop.
Yeah, that's the point. Stop sharing. Or you, I do it every day, you know, but today is just a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Or you can share it, or Anto, where are you, Anto?
Okay, let I see. I
You
have,
can share it.
if
Then
I think
it's
I
just,
do have it, so give me a second. I see if is it the one that you enter sent to me that's called
yeah.
May 11
The,
ATA and
the
3
number
CS?
three,
Yep,
number
okay.
three,
Right.
yes.
So now I'm sharing the screen, all right? Okay. Yes,
Okay,
is everyone
thank
seeing?
you.
All right,
Yes,
now if I
so
make bigger,
you know, the question is how to publish and research and publish book or book chapters. But before that, I would like, and you can take the next slide, next one. So you can press, yes. So then, and the next one. Yes, I would like to ask three simple questions. Why publishing, what publishing, and then how? The why is very important. Why should we publish? We can be happy without publishing. So I would like to share a few reflection on that, and then also what do we have to say? Because we are nowadays in a world where we have a lot of media, social media. We can just put a short tweet. We can have a short Facebook note. We can share private things. We can share public things. And what is not a specificity, what we are talking about today? The specificity is that a publication is a serious effort, but the line between serious and not serious is becoming more and more confusing. Maybe you have read and that people are now using ChatGPT even for their exams. There was a big news 2 days ago in Swiss newspapers because a student got the best mark for the exam, and then he revealed that was just a result of ChatGPT. And the teachers did not discover it, and he got the best mark. So what is then publishing in this today confusing world? And I think the first thing I want to say, the why is our character as authors. female or male, I think that is the key to reflect. Who are we? Why should we share knowledge with others? And the next slide. The next, yes. So what I did, I published a lot, and you see here the, it's not visible. We have, but you see it on the slide. I published many things for many decades, and I put it together in a bibliography, 50 years of publishing, but I started with 12 encouragements for emerging authors. And I'd like to go through that. And the first is the question, create impact by sharing knowledge. I think that's a key answer to the question, why should we publish? Should we publish for our career? Of course, that is, you are young researchers, you want to make a career, academic career, but that is not enough motivation for publishing. We want to share knowledge, that's the key. And we want to also give to others what we received in our education. Sharing knowledge means we are not just producing in our head something, but we want to increase shared knowledge for the society, for for humanity at the end. And that is a very key point because I see many researchers who think only of, yeah, I need to publish for my career, I need to show 3 papers for my doctoral thesis, I need to have another 5 papers to get a professorship, and that's it. And that is not bad, but it's not enough. So we want to serve society, and that is the second point, serve others and yourself. We want to share knowledge by serving. It's our specific gift that we have to use our brain to analyze problems, to find solutions, to criticize other solutions. And that all that is an intellectual service that we do. And of course, for that, the question is, can you go back to the slide? It seems it disappeared. Duke? Duke disappeared, so...
Yes,
Duke,
give me 1 second.
okay, fine.
Because my Zoom, I tried to open from my phone, and it just suddenly took me away from my laptop. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back. So I can continue. So serve the others and yourself. We do not need to be selfless and exploit ourselves without getting something. But the first goal cannot be our career only as a motivation. The third point in my 12 recommendations for coming authors or young authors is be holistic and precise. Precise in the academic sense, of course, that is key. We cannot have a successful publishing path in our life if we are not precise of how we do it. But in order to be precise, we need to know what we have to share. So before we come to the how, we need to think about the what. Do we have to say something? Or we just repeat what others said? Or we copy paste in order to have quick publications? So that is, you see the circle of the why and the what means. Our character means we need to be convinced that we have something meaningful to share. There is too much rubbish, to be honest, and I'm a bit sharp on that, too much rubbish in the publication field. Tons and millions of books and publications and articles just because of the pressure of this academic machinery around the world. When I was young, this pressure was not there. Publishing was an exception, teaching was the normal, learning was the normal. But now with this new trend since a few decades, where you all are under the pressure to publish in academic journals and it has to be peer-reviewed, I'm becoming more and more critical of that. That does not mean that you should try this way, and we will come back in a minute to how to publish then, but be aware that we are in a crazy world of publishing machinery, and we see already that it will come somehow to an end. We cannot continue this explosion of publications and multiply thousands and thousands of new journals in order to give a space to all these publication needs. This will lead to a great crisis in the next year, I'm quite sure. Now, be holistic, that means also to look at different aspects in publishing. Who are the target groups we are looking at? Are we only looking at the experts of a small target group, which is fine, which is needed for some publications? But I always had in mind that I want to serve more than just go back to the former, yes. I always said I'm not just talking to my peers, the small circle of 10, 20, 30 experts who share my field. We want to go beyond. That means also to publish in an understandable way. I got an award for the best written doctoral thesis, and I was happy. It was about the form. That's about how. How can we publish in a way that non-specialists can also understand? My fourth point is be self-confident and modest. So to be ambitious is a good characteristics, is a good virtue, but only when it's combined with modesty, because there are too many academics who publish and are so self-confident that they are the best in the world and they have the bestsellers that they should be rewarded for. And so this balance, and it's not easy, the balance between being self-confident, yes, I have something to say, but also I be modest because others also have something to say, and I'm not the only in the world who has the truth. The fifth point is be innovative in publishing. After all these experiences of publishing in academic journals, publishing books, I came in early years already to the conclusion, early means when I was about 40, that there is a big gap between Global South and North. Publications were restricted to those who can buy. My PhD students published their thesis for $50, for $100 in academic publishing houses. But who can pay $100 for a book when you get a salary of $200 or $300? And I'm not inventing, you know the situation as I do. Many professors, many assistant professors have a salary of $500. How can I pay a book for $100? It's excluded. So the exclusion is a big issue. That means innovative in publishing means also, for example, I started then this publishing house of Globe Ethics, this global network on ethics, www.globeethics.net, where we have now, in the meantime, 350 books, 3.5 million downloads, and all these 350 books can be downloaded for free. That is the model that I promote. because we want to serve society and not only our pockets or our respective university or institute. So looking at if we have a clear goal, we want to serve society and we want to increase accessibility of publications, that is, we need to be innovative. Combine multiple talents and media. That is also the question of which media do we use? Publishing a book may be needed and is good for an academic career, but also for a long-term impact, because a book is available for decades, and that is a true service. But more and more authors also combine then their publication, written publication, with verbal communication tools, with a video, with a short talk. So I think it's good if you as publishers, in the question how to publish, even though we talked today, this evening, about publishing books and articles, but still you should not forget the question, what is the channel which is the right one? Now, the next slide. I have 6 following points. The point 7 is start small and think long-term with a G. So I started my first article when I was 20 years old, and I published in an unknown small magazine. Don't hesitate to start small. You do not need the Springers and the Elsevier's and all these fancy giant of publishing houses to start with. You learn with each publication that you do, even though you have the pressure to publish in so-called great journals. And then build on that step by step. With each publication, you get more experience. That is my recommendation. Don't be under pressure of your supervisors or your institution when you apply for an article in a Springer journal and you don't get it, then you're at the end of your courage. Say, yeah, I tried there, but there are many other opportunities. The next is remain need-oriented. That is again, this is again linked to the question of serving society. Then what are the needs? Of course, as I said, your own needs to publish for your career. But what is the service for society? Is the article really helping to solve problems? That should constantly be in our mind. And of course, I say it as an ethicist. Ethics means we want to have value-oriented impact and action to improve the world. That's a big goal. If you are in languages or if you are in physics or mathematics, you may not see the immediate impact so clearly, but still there even. We have 3 of our 4 children have a PhD in 2 in sciences. I mean, in physics, in solar energy, in chemistry, in history, whatever. It all has a meaning for society, or can have. Now, a sensitive point is my point 9. Your reputation is your remuneration. I know many people who thought they can make money by publishing because, yeah, it's part of the income. If you have a low salary, how can you survive without getting something from your publication? But the reality, unfortunately, is the opposite. Nowadays, you can't make money with publications. On the contrary, you have to pay money. You have to pay money to place your article. You have to pay money for your PhD to be published. And that is a very strange situation that the publishers want to be on the safe side. They want to get your money so that even if not one single book would be sold, they already cover their costs. And that's something I'm really angry about it. You know, these big giants, they get billions and billions for their shareholders, and the poor authors even have to pay for their publication. It's an unfair system, I say it openly, but it's at the moment the reality. Except, for example, in our system, when my PhD students had to pay $5,000 to $8,000, sometimes $10,000 to be published in a PhD thesis in globe ethics. They pay, if they are from the global south, Africa or Asia, including Vietnam, they pay between $500 and $1,000, so 10 times less than in the big publishing houses. But it's peer-reviewed, it's with ISBN numbers, it's with all credentials needed for a publication. So what is the solution? My answer is your reputation is your remuneration. You will not get rich with publications, and on the contrary, but you have a reputation gain. And with that, you have a chance maybe for a next career step. You have a chance to be invited as a scholar or as a researcher for a research project, and that is your remuneration. My 10 point is publish alone or together. That is a question. The trend is that many articles, especially in science, are published collectively, 5, 3, 7 authors per article. That can be fine, and but try also to publish alone, not only in teams, because it depends on your research topic, but it's also good that you can show that you are a standalone author, and you are also able to cooperate in research projects and be co-authors of texts. My 11 point is again of the why and the what. Means the content is at the end what counts. When I say be honest and wise, what I mean, you know, there are a lot of temptations nowadays because of the pressure of publishing. To be honest, I must confess I had one or two PhD students where I had to refuse the PhD thesis, and I warned the student because they plagiarized in a heavy way. I said, look, you can end your whole career in a minute if you publish a plagiarized thesis, because the plagiarism software will detect your plagiarism. So I warned her, instead of making a big noise publicly, I said, either you have to rewrite your thesis without plagiarism or with the proper quotes in the footnotes from the sources, or you are dead with your academic career. That was an extreme case, of course, but yeah, but it happens. So be honest and wise. Wise means also, of course, there are some, and that's a very sensitive issue. There are some cases where your supervisor or your co-publishers may need to put some pressure for political reasons or others, yeah, you cannot publish this. This is too sensitive in our context. Then you have to see where you can compromise. I think we need to be also clear that compromises are sometimes needed because if you insist on every sentence that you wrote, then the supervisor or the faculty may say, no, I'm sorry, we cannot agree and give you the title of a PhD or a doctorate, or you cannot publish it. On the other hand, of course, we cannot publish something which is against our intellectual honesty. So that is where I say be wise. Don't run into a catastrophe, but also don't compromise your intellectual honesty. And that is a difficult path. I know, I have a PhD. I had PhD students from sensitive countries, not only the West, even in Switzerland, in US, the political, so to say, correctness is in every country an issue. I had also PhDs from Africa, from China, and even try to contact the coach if you have some doubts on that, how to proceed. Even Luc, I think you can share my email with the group and write to me if you have such a conflict in your heart, where can I make a compromise and where is the limit for that. And the last one, be courageous and persevering. Publishing needs courage. Oh, you are self-confident, you have something to say, but also you may publish something where you are not applauded from left to right. So the credibility is, I repeat myself, is at the core. Don't expect that everybody will applaud you. Publication means that you may criticize something where you are alone, and only 5 years later, maybe somebody says, oh, what she said or he said 5 years ago, I now realize that this was true. And that is also perseverance. Look at publishing in a long-term perspective. So it was a bit longer than planned, but you see, this is more about motivation than skills and techniques. And now I think Anto will go to what are then the practical skills that are needed. And we have Brendan also, thank you so much for then also all these technicalities that have to be considered. But I wanted to mention first these more fundamental philosophical, ethical issues of publishing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Christoph. So, Dr. Enter, would you want to continue, or would you want we have a break? And I just show a video that I supposed to show at the beginning of today, to introduce about KBERI. Yeah.
Yes. So may I just say some words before you show the video?
Sure.
First of all,
so I stop
I'm
sharing.
sorry. First of all,
Yep.
I'm sorry to have some technical problem. I saw you speaking, heard you speaking, but I couldn't speak and I couldn't show my video. And that's why I was struggling. And then I had to get out and get in again. So those things happen. I will let Dr. Duke to show the video, but I would like to also thank a lot the team that we have got, so many people, thanks to the intensive effort of promoting for the last 10 days. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. So I would like, so as a break, I would like to show everyone short videos a 3-minute video clip that is introduced our new, what we call new name. Yeah, right. KBERI. Oh, the Zoom is new, so even I'm struggling to see what this is. All right. Okay. So here we are. Do you see my screen, everyone? Yep. All right. So. Okay, so that's what the video, the latest video about KBERI that we actually just finished a few, yesterday. Right now, Dr. Anta, are you ready? Would you like me to help you with sharing the same slide, the screen before?
Yeah,
or- yeah.
you can help me to share the screen so that I don't need to look
Okay.
on my side.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's
So,
ready now.
So thank you and hello everybody. Today it's a pleasure for me and an honor to be attending this first webinar together with KBERI. And I would like also to introduce one of my colleagues, Christine Hausen, who is also a teacher, and she's with me to support this event. I have also recruited her to be part of the team for teaching English because she's a teacher in ESL and also my colleague at Globetics. Following the presentation that Christoph, Dr. Professor Stückelberger Christoph, that now we dare to say his name Christoph, has presented his 12 like philosophy in publication, which also includes the role of the researcher and the ethical consideration in research, which we will come back later. In this presentation, I think the best thing is to share some experience so that you can see how we start with an idea. What do we want to achieve with that research, and how it ends up with publication, and the role of Globe Ethics as a publisher. So the part that attracts everybody here is how to publish a book chapter, which will be addressed in detail. But before that, we just have an overview of some experience. So there are 3 experiences that I would like to share. Mine is to build up a Vietnam ethics collection, which is a curriculum, because we end up, all of us, to teach, and when we want to teach, we have some content to teach. And those content to teach is only when you have an accreditation as a teacher, or you have some kind of research that you want to share with people. So mine is the last 3 years, I was supported or encouraged to build a Vietnam Hoc collection. We called it Vietnam Hoc because in Vietnamese are Vietnam Hoc. So after thinking a long time whether I should say Vietnamese studies, then Christoph says to me, much better to keep the Vietnam Hoc. So now we have in the new vocabulary of the scholars, the Vietnam Hoc. Vietnam Hoc is now an institute which is called Vietnam Hoc Institute, based in Geneva. And we work in collaboration with Globe Ethics as publisher, and also with Christoph as an advisor. He's an advisor to the UN, and he also advises on social ethics, social justice, and all kinds of applied ethics. You have about 35 types of application. So it would be very interesting to see the publication with KBERI dealing with innovation ethics, research ethics, and so on. So on my story, I would cut it very short in maybe 3 minutes. We founded the Vietnam Hoc in 2021. That is when I retired from my long 45 experience in different industries as marketing, teachers, lawyers, interpreters, and so on. So that's why I cover a lot of things in my professional life, and end up bringing all this experience to apply ethics in the Vietnamese context. The institute is based in Geneva, and we choose to concentrate in cultural studies, which is cultural context, and that's why it's linked with the Vietnamese community that we have here now. Our mission is to provide learning material to teachers, because we think that teachers has a very critical role in disseminating ethical behavior, as well as train people to live right and work right and eat right and so on. So basically, ethically living. So far, we have a plan with Globe Ethics about 10 books. So the KBERI book will be the number 5. So those people who have missed the deadline or cannot make the deadline, you know that there are many other books coming up, provided that we agree on the theme. And the collection is named Vietnam Ethics Series. So that's one of experience of when I started to have an idea about Vietnam, and my thesis was restructuring Vietnamese state-owned enterprises from Vietnam for the period of 1990 to 2012. The idea come up, and when I started to do restructuring state-owned enterprises in Vietnam, I mistook of restructuring the Vietnamese economy. So I went a very long way to do all that. In the end, I I finally did my thesis, but after 7 years. So just for a short story, an anecdote for those who do research, that you must really frame your work very well. In a later explanation, I will come back to that. But now I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Christine, who is going to present her experience as a teacher to have benefited from the experience of the VNTU, which is Vietnamese Teachers Union. She will share with you, as a teacher who is interested to work with Vietnam, how she sees the usefulness of such an an organization whose mission is very similar to that of KBERI. Thank you. Christine.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you. I'm just going to make a couple of comments right now and also orient my comments to our topic today, which is publication. But we know it all relates together, so teaching, learning, studying, networking, and publication. And this is what we certainly find in Globe Ethics, and this is also what we find in VNTU. And so already, by being a part, we can experience right now some of the benefit of being part of a global network and then bringing networks together to enrich ourselves, develop relationships. So we're learning from each other. We're hearing from experts that come from our various networks. We're getting ideas. As a teacher, as a writer, as a publisher, as Professor Christoph said, you get a place to share your ideas through these networks and through events that we decide to do together. We want to feature members. We want to feature teachers. We want to feature writers and researchers in both our publications and our events. And we know that this is a kind of capacity building, and as both of our previous speakers have said, Dr. Christoph and Dr. Anto, it's a place to deepen our ideas, deepen our research, to enrich it, to disseminate it, visibilize it, and begin to help the research become used and applied and referred to by others. And so as a teacher, it's wonderful for me to connect with Vietnamese scholars, because it's a chance to share with you, and it's also a chance to learn from you. And so it's a network that I've gotten connected to through VNTU, and it's both Vietnamese teachers and it's friends. So I see in your network, there are friends from around the world interested in the topics you're working on. And this is true with VNTU as well. Look forward to getting to know you, look forward to working with you and being in touch.
Thank you, Dr. Christine.
Ha. Let me make one more point. She's being provocative because, at every stage of life, we get inspired by wonderful people doing research. And though I do my own kinds of research, I do my own kinds of writing and speaking, and that's good, and that's been affirmed by Professor Christoph. But at the same time, I'm also inspired to consider further study and potential a dissertation. So this is part of my own thinking right now. And just one more point, where Professor Stuckelberger said it's good to both collaborate in research and to stand on your own. An affirmation on this is kind of it's being more emphasized these days, this collaborative nature of scholarship and work. And I think we know that we can't find the ways forward that our world needs, our countries need, our institutions need, unless we take more seriously these kinds of partnerships in thought and in action. Thanks so much.
You know why we are laughing? Because Christine graduated from Yale University, which is a very prestigious university where Hillary and Bill Clinton went, and so on. So I'm very how do you say inspired when I saw her CV. And if you see her CV, you will be as inspired as me. So we are very lucky that Christine has been teaching in China when in her youth, so she knows Asia quite well. And when I tell stories about Vietnam, she can have some kind of reference to compare different kinds of Asian people. And she's been working with Indian people and other people from other countries in Southeast Asia. So I think it would be very interesting to set up some kind of training on intercultural communication with me and Christine handling the training, so that we can have two point of view. She's American living in Switzerland. I am a Vietnamese living in Switzerland. We both look forward to Vietnam. Christoph is a Swiss, but he has been living mostly in planes, flying to different parts of the world. So he knows a lot about the rest of the world. And I'm sure that here we have a lot of people having experiences integrating into the new country where you are or where you work or where you will work and will be part of. So that's where I think that the word or the expression intercultural, let's say, capacities or skills is very important. So for that, coming back to the topic that Dr. Duc has asked me kindly to start with this webinar, is that in my idea of that is my talk should be about how to choose your research topic, or to show you scholarly resources, how to create a research paper, how to add creativity to have some effective oral presentation, how to publish with a journal, and how to improve your English speaking skills. I think that the 5 or 6 points have been already taken care of your colleagues at KBERI with the mentoring, research mentoring, which attracted my attention. And I think you're doing very well. So I think that the part that we can a little bit add in is about English, special English for researchers, which I call pre-MBA English, and I will explain it in a later in the later part of this presentation, because I would like to give the floor back to Christoph, who would show his experience of 50 years publishing and how he has conceived and built up the library of Globe Ethics with the aim to provide learning resources to us all researchers in the field of social studies, ethics, philosophy. Christoph, I pass the floor to you. Thank you.
Do you need to move the slide to the next page?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yep.
We don't hear Christoph. Can you on your mic?
Yeah, we should not talk too much about globe ethics, but I can add a few words. It's again this question of accessibility. And I think we are in a world where this accessibility is now much increased compared to 20 years ago. When I was carrying always, when I traveled to universities in Africa or Asia, always carried physical books. Now you have a lot of access, and I think the challenge is rather how to choose now and how to select. So this online library of Globethics has over 3 million documents for free download. Again, that is the question of how to access it. And those of you who work in an academic institution, of course, have good access, I'm sure. One thing I would like to draw your attention is we need to be aware that as I said in my introduction speech, that our academic system is biased. Much is Anglo-Saxon oriented, and Anglo-Saxon world is seen as the gold standard in publishing, and we need a greater self-confidence. I would say now, as Vietnamese in Vietnam, in many countries, we need a self-confidence to say we have to say something from our perspective. And of course, there is this limitation, as Anto already said, of English, because then people say, yeah, we need the Cambridge English and we need the British English or the American English. The Vietnamese English is valid, but of course, you need to make the corrections through a native English, as I have to do. I'm not a native English speaker. I'm a Swiss with German background, Swiss-German language, but don't be afraid about these standards that are set. I had harsh debates with Anglo-Saxon publishers. They say, we are the ones who set the goal in the world and the standard. I said, no. Yesterday, I was in a following discussion in the UN. The United Nations is a body where every country has equal rights, at least theoretically and legally. Vietnam has the right to publish in its way. And Cameroon or Cambodia or Laos have the right to reflect what is our way of publishing. Now, this sounds a bit crazy for you probably, because you say, no, we have to align. Of course, you have to align to some extent. That has to do with this question of wisdom and compromise or not compromise. But the cultural diversity, the religious diversity, the political diversity should be strengthened and not streamlined to one standard. That would be my plea to that respect. The next slide. So the 8 steps of designing, I think you all aware of that. Before coming to publish, of course, it's a question of how do we write and how do we structure a topic. And I would suggest that the next slide, that the challenge is always how to focus. So to be focused and at the same time also not to exclude too many things. The next slide. Yeah, so make sure your dissertation includes these 8 elements as Anto briefly mentioned already. The background, the problem statement. So that is very key. Before you start your research, to be as precise as possible in what is exactly the topic I want to deal with. Spend a lot of time in that. What is exactly the topic I want to write an article on? And how narrow or how broad can I do it? So the problem statement is the most important, I would say, before you, and then of course it's a circle. You define the problem, the topic, and then you modify it on the way you go. Purpose of the study, that is what I mentioned also already. what do we want to reach with that study? The research questions, the importance, the scope, the definition of terms, that's another key issue. When we speak about colonialism or about market economy or about cultural diversity, what do we mean by that? And the limitation and delimitation is again this question of focus or not focus. Normally, I see a bit two trends. One is to be too narrow in the focus and then forget about the interdisciplinarity. We cannot do studies nowadays without interdisciplinary openness. But at the same time, you cannot solve all the problems of the world in one research paper. So how to find the right balance between too narrow and too broad? The next slide. I think the literature review is now one of the big challenges with this explosion that I mentioned already. This explosion of publications. I mean, it's endless. It's endless, and I would say even ChatGPT, for example, and such things we still need. It's still too new for many of us, but we need to handle it. It is a helpful instrument. It can be a helpful instrument, but it can make us also lazy to say, oh, ChatGPT is telling us what is the literature review. But we need to know what are the sources. When you go to a village in Vietnam, the village is not reflected in ChatGPT because it's simply oral tradition and nobody wrote about it, and that means it's also not existing. The big danger of this world is that only exists what is online, and all the rest does not exist. And some publishers told me, as long as it's not online, it does not exist for us. And the ChatGPT and all the Google research and the Baidu research in China, they all depend on what is available online. And our critical thinking needs this awareness that there is a reality beyond what is online. Your mother, your father, your husband, your daughter, they may tell you something, and it is never online, but it's valid. So this is I think, the awareness that literature review, especially when it's based on internet literature review, is a huge sea of knowledge, but is still not reflecting the whole part of reality. Next one. The data sources, for example, that I just mentioned, but also the ethical consideration. Ask yourself, what are the ethical questions throughout? Of course, I'm speaking per domo because I'm an ethicist, but also in the research method. There are, of course, many publications about that. For example, in the medical field, it's the most obvious and most sensitive. If you have clients and you do client research, but also in ethnology, if you interview people in a village, what kind of consent do you get to use the data or not use the data? So some disciplines are more sensitive than others in ethical consideration of then, of course, the verification. I don't go into all these details because you know them, but it's important to use that as a kind of checklist for your research. And then every discipline has its own research methods. The next one. I go a bit quickly because I think it's important that you have also possibility that you express some questions or remarks. Yeah, I can skip that. You can read it. You will get these slides also. The next one. I think the gap between research theories and research gaps, cultural gaps, language gaps. Yeah, I would invite you just to reflect your own work in each step, to say, oh, what did I do? What are problems? What are chances? That's, you learn from your own activity, maybe more than even from others. For example, when you deal with language issues, what does it mean? Can I make it also visible in my research methodology? I say, okay, I'm a Vietnamese, I'm good in English, but it's not my mother tongue. What does it mean for my research result? And what does it mean that Vietnam, you had a whole long French tradition, that today's generation is not no more so much French oriented as your parents may have been. So what does it mean that we are now mainly oriented towards English or maybe Chinese literature and less French? So just to make transparent the limits that every generation has, the chances and the limits. I visited the American University in Saigon. Of course, this is much in that environment of American connections. But others have others. They have Russian background, they have Chinese background, they have Vietnamese as their main tongue. Next one. That is also an important point, you know. Every research paper normally is asked what are next topics. To show that this is not the end of, that is not the last thesis on this and this. So it shows to superiors, to supervisors, or to readers, there is further research necessary or promising. So that's why you don't need to answer everything in your paper. As important is that to show that you're aware of the limits of a paper or of a thesis. Next one. Yes, so your experience is much, we talked a lot, so I suggest, yeah, share your questions and remarks, observations that you have. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so can I just step in to start taking questions? We have a few questions that we have received before, and we have a few questions now. So if you still have questions as we talk, you can just post it into the chat. The first question that we have here is it legal and ethical if somebody publish a book chapter from a published journal and the same idea in a published paper? I think in a published book. That is a published journal as the same idea in, I'm reading texto what is written here so that you can answer Professor Christoph. Is it legal and ethical if you publish a book chapter from your published journal article as the same idea in published papers?
Yeah, it's a complex question. I think there is not one single answer because the different publishers have also different policies related to that. What I see is more and more, that was not in my generation the case, but now more and more, even in social sciences, not only in sciences, a thesis is composed of different articles which are already published. So in that sense, it's a republishing, and it's even a requirement. Yeah, please publish 3 articles, and then you bundle it together to the thesis. You submit it as a thesis, and then you can publish it as a book, or not publish it because it's already published. So I think you need to check in each case the copyright regime. Again, the copyright regime is important. It's an intellectual property right to copyright your intellectual issues, but it's becoming more and more liberal in the sense of open publishing. And even many universities now require that open publishing in order to avoid the economic mechanism behind, which is that a university pays the professors, the students get scholarships, and then it's published in a publishing house like the Big Four, and then the university has to pay again the book to buy it for $50 to put it in the library. And many universities now resist to that and said that's a nonsense. We have the right, and even the students have the obligation to put the PhD thesis in the open repository of the own university so that it's available, at least in this university, and then you can publish, so that open access becomes now more and more the norm. But check in each case. Your question is an important one, but needs in each case to check it. And in each case, if you use something from your own writing, we reuse it, always give the source where it was always published, already published.
I was about to ask about republish. I think the question was about whether once you have already published in a journal, are you allowed to publish or reprint it in a book? I think the word would be reprint. And I have received some questions related to that, because a lot of people in our audience is not so clear about what is the book chapter, whether there are many authors, how are we going to list these authors, how are we organized, and so on. So I think maybe as an editor, you can explain how we classify and collect data, and how we organize, and what is the role of the book editor as the volume compared to the volume editor. Thank you.
Yeah, there are different levels. I take the Vietnam Ethics series, where Anto and me are the co-series editors. So a series is a series with one series title, like Vietnam Ethics. And so we are responsible to organize and accept the topics. And then we have the second level is the volume editors. Can be one of us, can be another one, and can be one single volume editor, or can be 2 or 3, depending if, for example, there is a collection of articles in a book, then normally or often there is not one volume editor, but 2 or 3, but can also be one. I published books or edited books as a volume editor alone, and others together with others. I think it's a question of fairness to make visible those who do real work for a volume. If I do 90% or 95% of the work, it's justified that I'm the volume editor. But if we have a team of 2-3 people, they should also be listed as volume editors or co-editors. And then we can still put the first volume editor, who is the main one, in the first as the first name. I'm not so much in favor of alphabetic order, but order of relevance of contribution. If somebody is just on the side and spent 1 day, and the other one spent 1 month, it should be visible somehow. But there are different philosophies for that. Now, on the articles, it's similar. I would say if you publish an article with others, the order of the authors listed should reflect the responsibility in it. Of course, there is a hierarchical initiative, also reflection. If there is a professor who publishes with an assistant or with a student, then normally the professor would claim to be the first name. But as a professor, I would say that must not be the case in each case. If my assistant does 80% of the work and is the main author, why should she or he not be named in the first place of the article? Now, the other is, again, this question of republishing. As I said, it's not one rule which fits all. The most important thing is that you mention that it is already published somewhere, if that is the case. You can have a legal case if you don't mention, then it's plagiarism. Then you say it's first published and it's your text. Even if it's your text and you published already in another journal and you take it for a book chapter, that is valid as long as you mention it and you check the copyright of the first journal where it was published. The journals and the publishers nowadays are quite open. Then you write to the publisher and say, I am asked to republish this article in this and this journal, or this and this book as a book chapter. And I would say my experience is in 90%, the original publishing house will agree under 2 conditions. One is that it's clearly mentioned where was the first publication with a normal bibliographical data, year, journal, and so on. And the second depends then on the publisher. They may ask $100 for the right to republish, or they give it for free. So this is then to negotiate with them. If I say Globethics is a not-for-profit publisher, we sponsor the whole thing, then we get it often for free or for a low fee. But if it's a commercial publisher who gets money for selling the books, then the original publisher may say, I charge you $500 because you also make money out of that. So you see, that's a case-by-case situation.
Thank you, Christoph. That is the first series of questions that has been posted to us. Now I collect more questions here, which is of relevance to what we are talking about. One is, how can you connect the chapters of one book together if it is written in different style and gaps?
Yeah, there are, again, different editorial possibilities. One is to streamline everything in one style, and the other one is to maintain the diversity. Maybe we need to find the right balance between these two. I think the style, in terms of author style, should be kept diverse. And many of the books I edited, even the majority of the books I edited, have authors from different continents. An Indian writes different from a Filipino. and Vietnamese different from the US. And that is the beauty of diversity. I defend diversity as a value, not as a hindrance, an obstacle. Diversity should be maintained, but in content and in style. But of course, if you have an English book, we then say, is it American English or is it British English? And then we ask the person, and Christine, for example, is somebody who has experience on that. Okay, we streamline that the whole book is written in the same English. Or if it's an Indian English, okay, it's an Indian English, or a Kenyan English, it's slightly different. But throughout the book, we have then one type of English. But that is only one option. The other is we maintain the diversity even in the English style, English language. So there is not one fits all. The other is a question that you did not yet raise, but is often a question in editing. Should we have multiple languages? We have 5 articles in Vietnamese, we have 2 in English, we have 2 in French. That's an option, but is a bit a limitation for the readers then. I would suggest normally rather in one language. For example, we have now a book on national Vietnam values, the outcome of a conference we held last year in Hanoi with VASS, the Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences. We decided we have a Vietnamese edition and a Chinese and an English edition. So those who do not know Vietnamese, they have all the articles in English. So we have the manuscript now, and I think that's a good solution. For online books, of course, nowadays, or if we put the articles online with the automatic translation tools that we have, it's of course also possible that we have 3 articles in English and 2 in Vietnamese. And then we say, okay, use the translation tool, and then you can easily access it, even if it's an automatic translation. But the translation tools have been improved so much in the last 5 years that I'm more confident now than I was 10 years ago.
So I would like to continue in this direction about cultural diversity, because there are some questions about that. For example, somebody asked, why and how should we reflect cultural gaps in a PhD dissertation? I am not clear about this point.
Yeah, it's an important point. I think it depends on the topic. I mean, the 2 sons of mine who did physics, they say, look, physics is not really culturally dependent. We have one physics truth. But in social sciences, cultural diversity is very important. But that also depends on your worldview. You know, many countries nowadays, with the nationalist trends, tend to say we need unity and not diversity. We need to streamline as much as we can to create national unity, national identity. And I understand that because of this huge diversity that we have, and many governments, many universities, many people do not digest this diversity that we have. So that is more a political question than a scientific question. I think what I would say from an ethical point of view is diversity also is not per se a value, but diversity has to do with respect of people and authors. And if I'm in favor of diversity, it has also I would say, an anti-colonial aspect. Because what is colonialism or domination or superpower domination? That means I tell the world what is right and wrong. And we had it in Europe. Kant is the philosopher, and Aristotle is the philosopher, and all the others are second class. That's from the past. Confucius and the Vietnamese philosophers and spiritual thinkers and Buddhists, and these are all valid value systems, and we have to respect and pay respect for that. That's why I'm in favor, but you have to justify it. You have to give reasons why you say the diversity of cultural diversity is an expression of respect of humans and their culture and language and religion. But there is also a limit to that. That does not mean that we justify everything. Every culture has also negative things. And I was just coming back from Congo, and I was with a traditional chief of a village, and he gave me his fetish figures, I could show it to you. And he's praying to this figure, and as a Christian, I would say, it's not my religion, And I would even ask him critical questions. Is this fetish really the power that we need in our time? Cultural respect does not mean to accept everything. It's wrong to say anything goes. That is a fake tolerance. That is not working. So to find again the balance between respect for the diversity, but also then ask politely critical questions and say, look, this is a worldview of the 19th century or of the 15th century or something that does a lot of harm. We cannot respect or we cannot promote that. For example, I take an example. I got a manuscript from Turkey some years back, which was really a fundamentalist Islamic hate speech text. And I was asked to put it in our library, and I refused it. I said, there is a limit in all tolerance for academic freedom, but this kind of publication, you can try to put it somewhere else, but not in our library. That would be my answer.
Yeah. We continue on this in this direction a little bit about culture and language. And there is a question that I'm not so clear about what the person means by research gap, or is it the difference? Can you explain more clearly the research gap on culture and language? How do you interpret that question?
Maybe we can ask the person who asked the question, take the floor.
Lưu Phước, can you explain what do you want to know? Is it the research gap between the word culture and language, or is it the research gap on different cultures and languages? Lưu Phước, can you please answer? We want to know what it means, your question. You can come up later because we have other questions, and then you can write back your question if in Vietnamese so that I can explain to Dr. Christoph. Another question which is of very big relevance is that about the ISBN and also data search that has been dated and how to put it into a dissertation. So for Chí Thắng, from Chí Thắng, for newbies, we are considering the fact that since this book has an ISBN publishing, our new article here could restrict, actually we cannot, its publication elsewhere. So honestly, it's a trade-off. Is the value of my paper or publication in this book, the same as in other journals with impact factors, and will we receive high citations? So in short, he wants to know the value of publishing in a book. Is it more worth than publishing in a journal? Can you answer this?
Yeah, that's an important question, and I see the also the changing landscape. You know, that was not a question when I published my PhD and my habilitation and first books. The impact factor was not a criteria, and that is the machinery that I mentioned. Nowadays, everybody's looking at impact factor. And I criticize that, but of course, you have to take it serious if you want to have an academic career. But still, before I answer the question, I'm sure this, as I mentioned briefly, this impact factor hype has to come to an end to some extent in a few years, because it's not reflecting the real impact that it has. It is a closed circle, you know. You have a bubble of universities, and the more you are quoted by other scholars, the more you see the impact. What is that impact? That's not the impact on society. That is just how it's quoted by others. It's a closed system, so to say. So we need to criticize the current publishing ethics worldwide. But I know this machinery is so big that it's difficult to break through. But it starts already. Some countries say we are no more looking at the impact factor because this impact factor is a biased. It's Anglo-Saxon dominated biased factor. So, for example, in Africa, there is now a big movement or a growing awareness that they lose always. They are not seen as impact factor because the system does not allow to compete. But there are so many good authors in Africa. There are so many good authors in Vietnam, which fall aside because of the system, not because you are less good than others, but because your system does not allow you to be on the top. So that's why we have this system of Globe Ethics publication, and Vietnam Ethics is a part of it, but it's a standalone series. But still, we have to distinguish. The ISBN is only a numbering. That has nothing to do with impact factor. So that is only to identify the book, where it's published, in which regime it's published, but that's nothing more than a system to find the title with a simple ISBN and a QR code. The other one is the question of peer review or not. The impact factor, or let's say the credibility, normally is seen as higher when it's a peer-reviewed book or article or journal. So the journals normally are peer-reviewed. Some of our books are also peer-reviewed, but not necessarily and not all. For example, a thesis does not make sense to peer review, and we had this internal discussion. A thesis is peer-reviewed in the faculty. So when it's accepted, it went already through a careful process of validating by the supervisor, the director of thesis, the co-supervisors, the team of 3-4 people who say this is a valid PhD thesis and we give it free for publication. So it is nonsense to give it then to peer review people to a peer review process. Others is it, of course, if it's a collection of articles in a journal. I find the peer review system is helpful, but it's also exaggerating. Again, I think Vietnam can play a role in sensitizing where is peer review helpful and where it's not helpful, because it's also a biased system. The more specialized you are, the more you already know who are the specialists who know my topic. I take again in the science, in top scientific physics research, there are maybe 5 people in the world who understand the article. So the author is likely to know who are the peer review, even if it's a blind peer review. In social science, it's a bit different. And I'm rather in favor of non-blind peer review, because then we know the context of the others, you know. Has he or she really an understanding of the village that you describe in an ethnographic study of a village of Vietnam? I should take it as an example. Or is it somebody who has really an understanding of religious mechanisms? If you look at Buddhist community in Vietnam, and you have a peer review person who has no idea or even a strong affection against each religion, is it a good peer reviewer or not? If it's blind review, he may criticize this and this, not based on academic credentials, but based on his own ideology. I'm a bit sharp on that, of course. There are objective criteria of peer review. So peer review is often okay, but it's not our God to pray to. Duke, you are in the academic field very much, so you may also add to this view. But don't think that is you know, these are trends that as I said, peer review is also coming to such a high level of importance only since about 30 years, 40 years maybe. Before that, peer review was not as important as it looks now today.
Yeah. We have a few more questions, but there is one that is quite on the same level in a different way. That is, apart from what is it more worth to publish in a journal or in a book? But then how is it difficult? How do we write a book chapter as compared to an article? Is there a big difference in handing in a book chapter? This is from Hang. She was asking, how is it different to write a journal article and a book chapter? It seems that the prof is talking about a whole dissertation, but she's still not clear what is the difference between the book chapter and the article.
Thank you. You know, an article can be used also in a book chapter or the opposite, but the difference is in a book chapter, let's say in an article, normally it's a standalone article and it is a closed system. You have a topic, you publish it in a journal. A book chapter from editor's side of the volume editor, it should fit in the logic of the book. That means you have then subsections. You have a section on sociological aspects. You have a book chapter section about political aspects of the topic, and it should fit in that. And that's why the volume author the volume editor, sorry, normally ask the author to write from this and this angle. And then when they receive a manuscript, when I receive a manuscript for a book with different articles, I may write back to that and say, yeah, maybe that's not what fits into the logic of the book. So you understand, the book chapter needs to fit in the logic, but even there are different ways. You can have a book with a loose collection of articles which do not need necessarily to fit exactly, but it's a collection, it's a reader. That's what we did, Anto and me, with one of the books that we already published. It's a reader of articles which has a value in itself, and they must not be consistent in the sense I just mentioned. So I think it's always good if you clarify, not just send a manuscript to a publisher or to a journal, but clarify the concept of the journal. Also, for example, I published journals, so-called special edition, Journal of Business Ethics in London. We had a conference in South Africa, and I was asked to be the volume editor of a special edition. So these are all conference papers on one topic. And then, of course, the journal also, as a special edition, wants to be rather coherent and show, that's all about business ethics in a global context or in an African context or in Vietnamese context, as it is a special edition. So just check about each case. And so again, there is not one format fits all.
Another question now, which relates to that, but it's more like what is the main value and difference between a book that is done by an editor or a book that is done by an author? And the other question that is related to that is that for journals, we have Simage to check its ranking. What about book publishers? So both is about the value, which is more worth. Is it by an author, or is it when we say by editors? And is it the book publisher, books that are published have less or more worth value than a journal article?
Yeah, two important questions. The comparison between book and article. I was already expressing some critique about the current trend, also even to have a PhD, which is composed of several articles. That may make sense in the sciences, but in humanities, in my view, it's a loss. Why? Because if you are the author of a thesis and you have to write 200 or 300 pages and have the consistency, that's in my view a higher quality than if you deliver 3 articles and you put it in one a cover and a back cover. Why? Because a thesis is a long process, and those who are working on a thesis or did it know it's a painful process, but it's an important learning process to be able to go step by step through a topic from the beginning to the end. That's a different process than 3 topics and I put them together. I'm not against this. It can make sense in some aspects, but I think when I am employing somebody, for example, and I had many possibilities to employ academics, if I look at their publications, a book of 300 pages is still different from 5 articles that the person published. Because I see then the endurance, it has also to do with endurance, the endurance of a person to be able to do that. And that does not mean that articles are not relevant, of course, they are. But don't say a book is not important. It is still important, also as a single author book, where you show your qualities and your thinking, and also the consistency of your argumentation. The second question was related, what was the point? You had two aspects.
So the two aspects of the, if it is signed by an editor, that means that a book that is done by an editor and a series of articles that make up the book, or an author by itself.
Yeah.
For example, me, I
would
editor.
add to that, you know,
Yes.
it depends on where you are in your life. I would suggest really start with a standalone book and articles on your own, or at least to show that. And then the more publications you have, the more you can also add to a collection of articles. But that does not mean that if you have now an article, for example, and you want to offer it in the book that is now planned with Brendan and Duke, and so these volumes can be very valid. And I have not yet in the whole list of contributions. So I would suggest that don't hesitate to offer an article in such a collection of, in such a book. So again, there is not one model which fits all. It depends on your situation and your needs and the service you do for society, as I said in my 12 points.
I have another
And also
question.
look for advice, you know, write an email to Dick and to Brendan or to me and to others and say, what would you advise? Is that good if I publish it there, or I publish it first in a standalone book or whatever? I think we all need the discussion with others to find the right answer.
I have two questions now. One is I think something that is related to a scientific article. That means that it is time sensitive. And another one is about writing a cumulative PhD with many authors, and some of I'm reading texto what is say here. I'm still not clear about one point. Could you please help advise? I am writing a cumulative PhD thesis. For some journal articles, I cooperate with other doctoral researchers. Do I have to rewrite some parts which were written by my co-authors in my PhD dissertation? I think it's about referencing.
Yeah, a cumulative thesis normally is a thesis where you have 3 articles or 5 articles which you wrote yourself. If one of them has a co-authorship, it's a bit complex. I would suggest you ask your supervisor what he or she says about it. It's not excluded in my view. It's not excluded if in a thesis you have also a cumulative in a cumulative thesis PhD you have also articles with different authors, as long as it's clearly transparent and you clearly declare who does what. And in research projects, for example, in social sciences, where you have data collection, it's quite normal that you have several authors, because I take the example of the one son who did political science. He did a PhD on research, European research on political processes. One from Germany, one from Holland, one from Switzerland, and he did the one from Switzerland and Germany, and others from Holland. So that's normal. Then you have co-authors, as long as it's clear who does what, and the supervisor can identify what you did as a PhD student. I think it's possible, but it depends also on the faculty and the country. Some universities or faculties may not allow it, and others support it. I think in social sciences, it's in sciences it's quite normal. In social science, it's a bit less. In ethics, it's also possible, but really it depends. I would say in empirical studies, it's more often because you need different people who do part of the empirical study.
Her question is, do I have to rewrite some parts? Or she didn't say it, but what she means, if she quotes somebody, does she have to repeat the whole thing, or rewrite it, or just referencing? And you said something about distinguishing authorship. So that means that so far as it is clearly indicated that who has written what on the referencee. Sometimes we say like Kant, 1949 or something like that. Then we know that Kant has written on that year. Then we refer already, and we have a reference, a bibliography in the end, where you have the full title, right? Is it correct? That means so long that you have to clearly reference.
Yeah, I think that is the key. When I say honesty, that means there's no shame to say where you have your wisdom from. So mention it. The sensitive issue is when you steal, so to say. And what does it mean? Stealing is plagiarism. That means you take a text, just copy paste is easy today, and then you say that's my text. That's the easy plagiarism, which every plagiarism software can detect. So this is really a no-go. The other, a bit more complex, is can you use a ChatGPT answer and just integrate it as such in your, and it is the formulation of the machine and not yours. So even there, I would say I would not recommend to just take a ChatGPT and copy paste it in your thesis or your article. That's too dangerous because you don't know the sources. But it can help you to formulate your text. It helps a lot because it summarizes books and so on and so on. But then try to formulate yourself. And also for consistency reasons. Otherwise, you have pieces, and then the supervisor of the article or the editor of the journal would say, something is not consistent in this. It's just an accumulate. It's a muesli, as we say in Swiss German. It's just a mixture of things, and it's not digested. An article should be logical, digested, and consequential, so that one argument follows the other. That is the key.
Question now. We have only 3 minutes left. So I have another question that I think it's quite important for the person who asked it. Some PhD get stuck at how to start writing the chapter finding after the period of data analysis. How do you interpret that? Is it something that he has data, he don't know how to write? Or is it because the data is running out of time and he cannot write anymore?
Yeah, I think this is a key point of really time management. And That's a normal. Don't feel bad and I'm not able to do a PhD. I run out of time, or I run in an impasse. That's normal. Impasse and lack of time, and then you have to shorten, or you have to pick out the chapter that you wanted to write. That's a normal process. Don't feel bad about that. I would say try to make the best of an impasse, and also the openness to extend your PhD time by another 6 months if family and your own planning allows it and your financial situation allows it. If you say, I want to finish my PhD in 3 years or in 4 years, and then you need 4.5 or even 6 years, don't feel bad. That is a normal process. But as Anto said, 7 years for the PhD, that's not bad. There are circumstances for that. But it's the other one I would say, and that is very important. Do not think a PhD is your last book. It's the first book or maybe the second. So don't put everything in your PhD. Finish it. It's only one step in your life. Many people think now I have to do a complete encyclopedia. That's wrong. A PhD is a PhD. Have a focus, finish it. Anto is laughing because we were discussing it also. So finish it once, and then you are free for the next step. And also the second recommendation, very important. Once you have finished it and it's accepted, publish it as it is. There are people who then work for another 3 years to rephrase, to modify.
Exactly.
Don't do that. And then you lose courage and you lose your motivation, and then you never publish it. I was contacted 2 weeks ago in Congo Kinshasa by 3 rectors who never published their PhD. And they asked me, can we publish now with you? We discovered this wonderful possibility. And they became rector of the universities in Kinshasa, imagine, but never published their PhD. Please publish as soon as you can after acceptance of your, and then you are free, mentally and physically free for the next adventure and next project.
Thank you, Christoph.
So, and
all
just
you
to
have
repeat,
said,
I put my also email in the chat, so
yes, I
you
was
can
about to
contact me
ask.
if it's useful. But
I
of
was
course,
about
Dirk
to
is
ask
your Dirk, and Dirk
Dr.
is
Dick to
helping you
show
also
the
in
globe
that.
ethics, show the globe ethics repository, because you have to explain two words, all the publications and the variety in that.
To me,
Dick, can you give
yep.
the can you
Okay.
give can you share the repository.globeethics.net?
Yep, give me a second. Right.
Yeah. So while Duke is putting
I would
that
say
in front
just
of us,
I typed the email, the website, globeethics.net,
she
and then you
already got
have
it. Yeah, she already got it.
repository. Yeah. Then you have this repository, and you can search by title, by author, by collection. It needs a bit of time to become familiar, as with every library, but it's a wonderful tool. But of course, it's not on all topics. It's not science. It's about social science and ethics mainly. But explore as much as you can. The question was also how to publish with Globe Ethics. I would say, as we have been now in interaction, just write to me an email, and then I could refer you to the respective person of author or a series editor or the main managing editor, or answer your questions. So maybe that's the easiest way if you want to publish with Globe Ethics, and we are happy, of course, if we get your without promise, but if you get your suggestions.
Yeah. So can I just add something here at the last line? You see,
Do we still
journals
need the share screen enter?
No, I think you
No,
can
stop share.
close it.
Yeah, you just put on the last line. There was journals A to Z. So if you want to explore more on journals, Globethics is not only publishing its own publications, but it also has like 4 million documents that you can use for resourcing for your thesis, that and self-learning and so on. So there are lots of things to discover. I would like to thank you very much for all the answers that reflect exactly my situation between of having 7 years or 8 years for my thesis research, my dissertation, plus the 23 years that I've been thinking about the subject. So you see that I spent 30 years for my dissertation. By the end of the dissertation, I'm old enough now. I can claim that I am a very a good veteran in thesis mentoring because of that. But I think that Dr. Duc maybe wants to explain a little bit about your idea, why you want to put first a book or book chapters in a book, or 3 books of each book chapters, or how do you see it? So maybe for all the audience who is now keen to hear your initiative, and also maybe introduce Brennan, who is also the journal editor, right? Who can also help us for kind of brushing up the style.
Polish.
Very important. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
The floor is yours.
So the idea is, as everyone in the process know, in academic we have what we say is publish or perish. That means you publish or you die, right? So the KBI of publish, having a publication in high-rank journal in academic, not is starting heavy in Australia, in any country, as well as in Vietnam. And from my own experience, I feel that, it's actually almost impossible for the early career researcher to be able to get their first paper to be published in a journal that are required, like, a high rank, or, get this SSI or something. So
Yes, yeah.
sorry, my son is screaming. I'm in the room with him, so okay. So what happened is, I feel that KBERIs need to do something to help the early career researcher, to have the young researchers, young scientists, to have a channel where they feel that they're receiving a full support. They receive a mentor, a mentoring service, right? They receive all the help they need to get them a first publication. Because the first publication, from my point of view, is not about where you publish, but to get it published as soon as possible will push your confidence. I guess that some other academic or the author or university, they will reject the idea because they will say, don't sell yourself short, right? So they always aim for the PhD student to don't publish 2 or 3 paper from your thesis at B rank or Q2 rank, but try to put everything together on your thesis, become, an A rank paper, or, even aim for A star. My question is, I'm talking from my own experience as well as the experience of my PhD students. So I have like 5 or 7 PhD students. I have 7 PhD students, 5 completed, and 2 is still doing. So my personal point of view, I feel that to get the student to get a Q2 paper published while they are doing their PhD or as soon as possible when they finish their PhD is more important for their career to push their confidence and then to help them learn the process of publishing rather than let them waiting for like, 3 or 4 years. And then even, if they bad luck because of peer review process, we know how what we call subjectivity, how biased the peer review process is, because all of us here definitely, if you have been working as academic for a while, you will know that you often receive a two opposite reviewer result. One will love your paper so much, and another reviewer think that your paper is rubbish. Right. So that is, when I'm in that process and I said, I don't like it at all. It is time for me to create a a publication, a journal for myself to make KBERI become, a channel for the young early career researchers to publish, or at least get them in the process to learn how to publish, how to write a paper or to publish. Right, so in front of the Zoom, right, with 77 people here, in front of, the live stream on the webinar, it's been recording and live stream. I have to acknowledge that, universe sent Dr. Enter to us. I couldn't believe that, a person who is in Geneva will wake up at, 4 o'clock in the morning just to jump into one of our weekly weekly research mentoring program, and then she's been there for like the whole 3 hours, and then after that Dr. Anta see that how passionate the KBERI team is in building the research capacity of the research mentoring participant. Then she proposed a few things, and then I think that at the end eventually we got the agreement that yes, KBERI will take the opportunities that Dr. Enter offer. And then so I think in about 24 hours the team in particular is Dr. Hong Lok and Dr. Chi Thang here, right? They help me to put together the research, the proposal, the calls for paper, which include the topics, and then I put together a few other points so that we have the calls for paper that everyone is having now. All right, and then we have a meeting with Professor Christoph here. So things is going very well. And then I know Brendan for a while. Brendan used to be, Brendan has been a teacher, English teacher, writing English teacher with my other organization, the NCSN Language Bridge, right? And I know Brendan is excellent in, reviewing, correcting, and motivating the young writer, right? So I said, everything is like a piece of puzzle, here and there. But when now I'm being able to put them together, then we have a project. And my intention is to have the 3 books to be published with Club Ethics by end of the year, before, the year end, right? I know that we will be working very hard. And the idea is to be able to get the 3 books published, completed by end of the year. We need help. We need help from a lot of people. We need help from the experienced researchers like Dr. Dung Huang here, who I asked him to, turn on camera, because I guess that Chris, you know him, yeah? All right. So we need help from the experienced researchers who like, Dr. Yung Huang of a few many others here who have already their published paper in a high-ranked journal. I won't compromise the quality of the first KBERI book. I will not. I will not. I need it. We want the book to be published as soon as possible, but I will not compromise the quality. So the intention is to have the experienced researchers to allow us to preprint their paper, but we not just simply preprint the paper. If we preprint the paper, right, that they publish somewhere, it's kind of plagiarism. It's just a copy. So what I would like to propose is, let's say, Dr. Yung Huang here, Dr. Huang here, he offered, yep, KBERI can republish my Q1 paper, but then I would like, all the younger researchers, let's read together, make it a team together. You see, you read those papers, and you see if you are able to find sum up, a team or something that you be able to develop, write your own discussion paper or literature review paper, right? So writing from those reprint paper. So then we have the original paper and we have the, the reprint, the paper that who we review as, a review paper, right? So that is the intention. Yeah, and then, during the process, the experienced researcher will be the mentor for the younger researcher. So for example, on the screen, I could look, I will pick Miss Zhou Bui. She's doing her PhD, right? Probably she haven't got, I'm guessing, I don't know, right? But probably you haven't got so many publications. But next to you, Dr. Yung Huang have a lot of, Q1 paper, right? So, Dr. Yung Huang can be your mentor. And I know, in KBERI, what we have is the advisory board. We have like 12 of us who willing to be mentor, right? So we just need to build up, as a team, right? So before today, already, sent to our yellow group, the research book group. I think Thắng, if you are still here, or Dr. Anta, could you share the link of the Google spreadsheet again? So I would like everyone to put their name in the topic. So we already have how many topics, let us say. So we have 3 books. Each book we have a team, a big section. And in each subsection, we have about 3 smaller sections, like subsection. So totally, we have about 54 topics, right? So if you could put your name in each topic, and then, if there are more than one person in each topic, we make it, you put your name with your email address in that Google spreadsheet that I have. Now let I share screen that one. Give me just 1 second. I see if I having, and then, that will easier. Just give me, all right, perfect. Right, so let me share the screen. All right, and then I will also put the link. If no one is put the link, let me put the link for you. All right, so let's see if you can do in the chat, yeah? Right, okay. Have everyone received the link on KBERI books? Yes? All right, so here's the one. Now I block it up. You're not allowed to edit. You can only write comment. Because to avoid that, the another person come and then clear up what the previous person have put. So what you're doing is right, is correct now. You so here are how many? Here are it's 76. So there will be about 70 topic here, right? So each of the line is one of the topic, and this is just the suggested topic, yeah? So based on your paper, right, it can be narrowing down or it can be extending out, right? Here's the submission guideline. I know that it's very optimistic. Chris already told me that, but let's make it as the deadline and we work together to see if we are able to meet it, right? So I would call for extended extract, which is should be about minimum is 1,000 words to 2,000 words, right, by end of the month. And then the full paper submission deadline, let's give you about 3 months, to develop, right? So during this process, from 1st of June to end of August, we will try to make sure that each of the young researchers, early career researcher, will have a support from a mentor. So I'm calling for the experienced researcher to raise your hand as the mentor, right? Especially if you are the author who have published in this area, in this topic, right? So you can put your name here with, name and email address. Look like you haven't got email, but, later, then we will team up together. For example, if I say Anh Đức Nguyễn of, Luật University here, and then, no, it's on him. So assuming that, if I have another person here, then I team it up, and then 2 or 3 person can work together for one chapter, right? And then this is the promise for those who are attending the Zoom today. KBERI sponsor for your publication fee. Right. Normally, with the open access and with, the process that, we actually have to, we actually need to spend a lot of time and efforts, right, to put together a book. Publication fee is the norm in the academic or in the publishing industry now, right? I think one of the 12 things, like, is it item number 9 that Chris had mentioned, right? He said that, not many authors receiving money from, publishing. Yeah, not many academic author. But normally, I remember the number 9, normally, to get your work, your research work to the world, normally, actually, you have to pay for it, right? So that, your message, your book will, get out far and far, right? So publication fee is the norm, is normal practice, right? But for KBERI, for these Zoom people, right, and for all the member of KBERI Scientific Committee, right, KBERI will sponsor your publication fee. So basically, you will get, if it is good quality and pass the review process. The review process here is only internal process to make sure that we have a high quality paper, right? You will have all the author will get their paper published with no publication fee. I mean, from the participant point of view, right? From the publisher point of view, we will discuss later, Dr. Anta and Christoph, right? But from the participant point of view, this is my promise. KBERI will sponsor for you. So no publication fee, subject to the high quality of the paper. And for those who are only on the Zoom who attend the webinar today, and the message has been sent very clear, very loud, because I want everyone to be on the Zoom today. I want everyone to listen to Professor Christoph, listen to Dr. Anta. Right? I want to make sure that everyone on the same page, everyone understand the message, why we are doing it. Right? And then that is what I would like to give opportunities only for these people, only for those who are still here with me, 71%. And then right, so my team member, Thắng or Lộc, can you make sure that you screenshot those people on the Zoom now? Because I only want to offer this opportunity for those who are here. Right? I don't offer for everyone else. I only want to offer for those who are still staying now in the last minute at this moment with us. Thank you for listening. I'm talking too much.
Well, I would like to add something because I as much as Đức is so happy to meet me, I am extremely happy to meet KBERI. I think that KBERI is designed to be the bridge. And maybe because your name is the bridge, that's why I joined at 4 o'clock, because it resonates something to me. I always think that the bridge is very good, you know. So when I first attend the research mentoring, I felt there was quality. The presentation, the way that you run the show, the quality of the attendance. And after that, I am even more impressed at the speed of the decision-making process, as well as the quality of the work. So basically, I think that if somebody who is here in KBERI has not thanked Dr. Duke on behalf of the whole KBERI, I would like to thank Dr. Duke for this initiative. And of course, I would not forget my mentor of my life, which is Dr. Professor Christoph, who is really supporting my initiative of doing on Vietnam, because Vietnam is a very small country as compared to Japan or China or Korea or India, where all the eyes were aiming at those people. And Vietnam is very far away from the interest, although it's mentioned everywhere. But I feel that the Vietnamese scholars are very absent. And so the philosophy of Vietnam Ethics series is not only for ethics, but it's all about the process of change, the change of the last 100 years, where we start from the Chinese, cynistic studies, to the French studies, to the American studies, and then the Russian studies, and now back to Chinese studies. So there are too many changes, and I think that people who have some ambition or are gifted to study, it's also our responsibility to accompany the modernization process of the country, of the economy, so that the whole population of Vietnamese inside and outside the country can talk together and have a voice. And that's the part that I love doing publication and promoting publication. And KBERI are welcome to continue to come out with ideas, and we still have lots of possibilities to publish with the guidance of Professor Christoph, who is a real big supporter of our project. Thank you so much for all this. Somebody wants to do the conclusion, or do you want to give the floor to some people who want to talk?
Maybe if I can just add, not as a conclusion, but just add my thanks. Duke, great. Also, I look at Brendan to connect, to know more about this next project. Maybe only what Duke already mentioned, that it's an ambitious time plan. So don't be disappointed if it takes 1 or 2 or 3 months more, but it's good to be ambitious. Just to know also that publishing, we are fast in global ethics and in this Vietnam ethics series, or we try to be. But in each case, 3 months for the publishers, so to say, to finalize and is normal. In journals, it's often 6 to 18 months. You wait and wait and wait. That's not our style, but just bear that if that you add a few months at the end of the pipeline before you have it in your hand. But it's a great effort, Duke, and I'm looking forward to your initiative. And all of you look, as we did not have the chance to interact with you, but I'm looking forward to interact. And I hope also to be in Vietnam again next year, maybe end of this year. We'll see.
I think I open the floor for the participants to share, because we've been talking, as organizers, we've been talking a lot. So let's, give a few minutes before we end the Zoom call today for the participant who would like to say something? Or Brendan, would you like to say something?
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful meeting all of you. It's late. I'm in Japan, so it's 1 o'clock, almost 1 o'clock in the morning. My voice is going. Yeah. Thank you very much for this seminar, Christoph, Dr. Christoph, and Dr. Andres Kammer. You've given me some things to think about because I've been performing editing the past 3 or 4 months. I do this for a law firm in Ho Chi Minh City, but that's very direct. It's Vietnamese legal system. It's very clear cut what needs to be said. With academic papers, it's going to be a different set of considerations. So the thing I put in chat is that I will have to be a bit more respectful in the way you want things nuanced in your papers. My forte is the social sciences, but I'm also comfortable in the natural sciences as well, because my master's dissertation was bridging both of those things in climate change. So I really look forward to a good challenge. I think it's going to be really quick paced considering the timetable we're looking at, but I enjoy the challenge because Japan is very hot in summer and I want to stay inside an air conditioned environment, drinking iced coffee and working on your edits. So in Japanese, we say "ganbatte," go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So all right, anyone else would like, can I see how many hands raised up and said you would like to take this opportunity to have your publication, to have a book chapter in KBERI first book? Excellent. I can see a few hands now. Yeah. All right. So we're looking forward to receive your extended extract. Let's just do the baby step. First step at that time. Yeah. So we want to see, whether today first, right? When it's still, very, very fresh in your mind, look at the Excel spreadsheet, KBERI book that I just showed everyone, right? Put your name down on the topic that you think that, you would love to do it. Where is it? Now, right. So here. Yep. So here's the topic. So just make sure that, I would love in 24 hours, all the 70 people here, you got your name and your email down for the topic, right? You can have more than one topic because we will be doing as the team, yeah? So each paper can have, two, I think, 2, 3 is ideal, right? You can have more if, necessary, but, 2 to 3 authors for one paper will be ideal. And then, I would love to see every topic got the name put down, and then you will connect, you probably see each other email and name here, so you can start work together on the extended extract. At KBERI, also we have the exercise that helping you to do, like at the moment, the mentoring student. Can I see who are my mentoring student? Who are my mentee of the research mentoring student? Because today actually is their what we call official class time, where they have to attend today and they have to do the assessment task number 2. So they have done the assessment task 1, which require them to collect, to review at least minimum 5 papers on each topic. And today, after listening today, they are going to do the assessment number 2, which is they have to write a discussion paper. I think the discussion paper is about 3,000 words or 2,000 words. I forgot, but I think 3,000 words I gave them from the 5 papers that they have reviewed, right? And they got like 1 month to do it. Is it 1 month? No, I can't remember. I think any mentoring student here, research mentoring people, do it? Do you remember what's your deadline? Anyway, so
5:30?
yeah,
5:30. By 30
13
is, yeah, 13.
by the end of the
30.
month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the end of the month.
Yep. So the end of the month, they will have their discussion paper ready. So Brandon, probably you will have some paper ready, at the end of the month. So probably your June month will be quite busy.
Baptism of fire. Do you know that expression, Dorothy? Dr. Duke, baptism of fire.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is also the deadline of the according to the plan. This is also the deadline. So
All
let's
right.
just work on the deadline of the end of May for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. And then we can see and then probably in September when all the full paper ready, Brendan, actually
Yeah.
I could see that you will be extremely
Yeah.
extremely busy from 1st of September when about 50 paper come at the same time.
Okay.
I think that Brandon will need some vacation also. So on my side, we have a few people who can. I'm not sure whether they would volunteer, but at least they can give it you a hand. So
Okay.
let's talk about that because the plan is that we would have an editorial committee. At the beginning, we need to have that so that we agree on certain framework for collaboration, which follows the guidelines of Globe Ethics. And I suffer a lot with my first 2 volumes. You cannot imagine. So I think that if I spend maybe 50 years already trying to write something, 60 years learning languages, there are lots of effort to put into having something to publish. When it looks a book like this, looks very tiny and pretty and cute and neat.
Yes.
It's a lot of work, So I think that at first I think that the process of putting up a book on mentoring people is an excuse to meet each other, is an excuse to exchange, is an excuse to speak out what you cannot speak, or to check in what you need to complete yourself. In that sense, I think self-education or education by exchange or culture or education all are blended into what makes us the person that we are. And so why not? When we have this collectivity who responds 108 for the last figure that I know, and 70 is attending, that is a very high success rate. So congratulations. But then let's take this opportunity to maybe from the scientific committee that you have different committee, we can already attract people to sign up for the committee that we are responsible of. For example, mine is language and education. I already attract 36 persons from yesterday only. By proposing to read a book. Yeah.
I have to leave soon, so just want to add one thing. Just to make it clear that we will certainly have guidelines for the editing. And for the Vietnam Ethics series, it's not the Globe Ethics as such. We do it through the Vietnam Ethics series because I think that is easier than going through the whole system of Globe Ethics. And then, of course, we coordinate with them. And I suggest we will have also a meeting soon with Duke and Anto and Brandon and myself for these guidelines. Unfortunately, I have to leave, but it was a great joy to be with you, and looking forward to the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christoph.
Thank you
we
so
can
much.
stay for a while if you have time, so that we finish our internal discussion. But for Christoph, then it is clear that we follow what we have decided from last meeting, and this is only a concrete step forward where we are collecting papers in which I also volunteer to have one article. And I think that we have also, Duc has also agreed that she will invite you to write the preface of this book.
Yes,
Is it
it will be
correct,
our
Duc?
it will be
Yeah.
our honor to have Chris to write at the preface. Yeah, the first preface. Yes, the preface is the very first ever book that KBERI has. And we may need to get you again on the Zoom, right? Later on to help with, to help people how to write a chapter, or actually not how to write a chapter, but how to edit the chapter. So maybe in the smaller team. Yeah. So Brandon and a few other member from KBERI would love to catch up with you to learn how to edit the book in the process. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. And my intention is every year we have books, if not every month. I make you not every month, every year. We will have
Yeah.
we will have thank you.
Thank you so
Bye,
much,
Chris.
Christoph.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So what do we what
So
Dr.
what
Andrew?
I was saying is that from the committees, I have invited 36 just because I proposed to read a book that I had recommended to you, which is what is that already? Organizational Culture and Leadership. And when I start reading this one, I bought it in 2015. And every day I just open and I say, I will read it. But today only, after 9 years only, then I start reading it. And I was so pleased because everything that I read, I think of what she's doing. What you do is to build this culture, this KBERI culture, in step by step and shaping it. And so I think that all of us need to kind of learn from doing. That means that you read this book in English and there is a Vietnamese translation of it, which I also share. So whoever wants to come will come to the language and education section. That is my field, my house, if you want. And then from there, if you want to sign up for the discussion, I have opened a room, and that room means for the 15 different modules that normally an MBA student is studying. One of them is organizational culture or organizational behavior. And organization culture or behavior is about institutions. And institutions is very important for a country like Vietnam because we have a lot of institutions. We have schools, we have companies, we have a party, we have NGOs, we have a lot. And so if we know how the culture of an organization, it will save us a lot of time trying to get out of an organization when we feel that the culture doesn't fit us. But if we feel that the culture fits us and we let the opportunity go by, then we can regret it the whole life because such opportunity does not happen many times. In Vietnamese, we say the word duyên, huh? When we have có duyên đó, hữu duyên thiên lý năng tương ngộ, vô duyên đối diện bất tương phùng. That is the only saying that I know in Chinese Vietnamese in my whole life. And that's enough. Yeah. So that is what I share from my experience. In a very short time, we can move a small unit of people who are eager to team up to do something. And it is based on a give and take attitude. Some people like to learn something, like learn English. Other people like to learn Vietnamese. Like in my case, I want to learn Vietnamese. And some people want to learn Vietnamese culture without learning the language. But seeing how Vietnamese interact is also learning about the culture. So there are many ways like that. So I hope that after this meeting, not today, you don't need to decide anything, but through the process of participating to a project, we will sure see that we have some needs that we didn't know about that. And we didn't know that there are maybe services available that we could benefit from it also. So that's my opinion. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. So I think that, it's quite late now. So we're
Yeah.
going to end this Zoom call very soon. Just a
Yeah.
final word for those who ask how you can involve in the project. So as I mentioned before, and I will send the Excel spreadsheet again, put your name down as comment with your name and your contact detail as well, right? Then, I will team up everyone, right? Basically, I don't need to team up everyone. When you put your name down, you would be able to see, yeah? Everyone be able to see your name, your email address. Then, you can contact each other. What I do is I may just call for more experienced person like Dr. Dung Hoang, who is, willing to give their Q1 paper and be also the mentor. It's not only, you give the paper, but I would like to suggest, propose that, as the SC member, a member of, KBERI Scientific Committee, you will be the mentor. So you will take on a group of like 2 or 3 early career researcher. You will work together with the guide them how to write a discussion paper from your papers. So you could be the author, depend on your, how much you involve in that paper, right? Then you could be also the author for those paper, right? So the benefits from you will be, for example, if you have 3 Q1 paper and 1 discussion paper to review those 3 paper, then you have 4 book chapter in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Dr. Duke, we
Yes.
have a great surprise here. I managed to convince Christine to say something, and she may say something that you would like it.
Yes,
So
Christine,
let's
please.
give her the floor now.
Thank you, Anto. I've been listening to the whole conversation, and I don't know who here is not motivated by both of you women. I mean, so I don't know you yet, Dr. Duke. I look forward to meeting you and talking to you in more depth, but we can see clearly that you both have vision and you're mission motivated. You care about furthering people's potential and contribution. And we can see a lot of experience behind both of you. And I just think to all of us here, I think, as Anto was saying, it's not every day that we run across these qualities. And what we're being offered here is the opportunity for support, in a learning journey where we're challenged. I mean, I love your decision, your ambition, so it's not easy, but this kind of challenge is good for us, and then backed by support, that's very unique. And so, and as Professor Stuckelberger said, and as Dr. Andre said, we'll learn along the way. And I feel the willingness to kind of adjust and move along. And so it's a true learning journey. Well, we will both hold each other accountable and also adjust according to reality with support. So I'm so glad that I came to Neil from Geneva to hang out with Dr. Anto Andres today, to learn more about this network. And I look forward to working with you in whatever way. So congratulations for an amazing afternoon, an amazing crowd, and a wonderful project ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Thank
must
you.
say that Christine is a very very particular and very special friend of mine after being my colleague for almost 3 to 4 years. She has an excellent voice. She sings very well. And she was also the Secretary General of the Youth Christian across the world or something. Yeah. and more important to our project, she's trained in Yale University, you know. Her English is excellent, and she's helping me to put up my first film with
Movie.
a
Film.
movie,
Film
yeah,
movie. Yep. Yep.
about my life. And my book is about coming home, my journey to inner harmony, the journey of a migrant of the 21st century from Vietnam. So you can see from the title, it's shorter, it's not so long, but you can see that it attracts a lot of attention already. And now I'm to the phase where I finished the English version and I'm writing it in Vietnamese. And I already have somebody who wants to play the film for me. And we are putting up a film later with a professional script writer. And one big part of it is the encouragement and the support of Christine, who loves the story also. So basically, there's always a first somewhere. I think that in my life, every year I have a first somewhere. So there are lots of things that I have to accomplish. But thank you so much for accepting also, Christine. And I hope that we will have more people to support our young scholars. I think that they merit some support, some special support from us. And also for me, it's a pleasure to work with you also, Duke. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, everyone. I think, I will calling as the end of the workshop unless anyone have the burning things. No? And then we will have another meeting, right. So just wait for everyone to, finish the topic. And then, maybe then I will ask all the author and then the mentor, the mentees and the mentor be together. And then we will organize how we start our writing book process. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night or good morning.
Good night. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Yeah. Bye.